Uncovered, the definitive source for tracking Altadena's roots, resilience, recovery, and reunion. These stories will now live on for students, scholars, researchers, and journalists seeking truth and legacy in the months and years to come. Because history isn't just made, it's honored, it's recorded, and it's passed forward. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting a movement of people. It's like we dancing to the ministry of, it's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify with you and God and time my best align.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right.
You are listening to and streaming World Urban Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent. I'm in touch until you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. And there we are for your listening pleasure. Last but not least, subscribe to a More Perfect Union podcast. That way you'll never, ever, ever miss an episode. Excuse the hoarse voice. I am drinking my tea. Allergies here in DC are no joke. As somebody who didn't grow up with allergies, who probably didn't take it nearly as seriously as I should, this is what you get. This is what you get. But we have a great show in store for you today. In just a little bit, we'll be talking to Eva McKinn, the national political correspondent for CNN. We'll be digging beyond some of the trending headlines of the day. And then in our second hour, we're going to be talking to Nick Brooks. Nick Brooks, he is an award-winning author, a filmmaker, a musician whose storytelling spans literature and film and TV and music. He has an upcoming book called Up in Smoke, and we're going to talk all about that in our second hour. But first things first, happy 100. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Today is the 100th birthday of Malcolm X. And for folks in Los Angeles, where our home station is located, it was made extra special with a street sign honoring Malcolm X. It was unveiled in Leimert Park today. The city of LA unveiled the street sign dedicated to the beloved civil rights activist Malcolm X in Leimert Park. The unveiling actually took place this Saturday. So a lot of people celebrating today, but the unveiling actually happened on Saturday in honor of what would have been his 100th birthday, followed by the 33rd Malcolm X Festival. This year's theme was human rights by any means necessary. A 5-mile stretch of Crenshaw Boulevard will now be known as Malcolm X Way. We love to see it. Now it's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Kicking us off, the Associated Press is reporting that Trump signs a bill making revenge porn a federal crime. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump today hosted a signing ceremony in the Rose Garden for the Take It Down Act. Take It Down, to measure that the First Lady helped to usher through Congress to set stricter penalties for the distribution of non-consensual intimate imagery online, otherwise known as revenge porn. President Trump was there to sign it. He was in a very good mood today. This is it's important stuff. We live in a world that's very different from when many of us, were younger, before the internet became what it has become. And this is a real issue for a lot of people. We certainly have heard stories about that, even among members of Congress. Remember the member of Congress who resigned because there was some revenge porn that her ex or soon-to-be ex-husband had released. Well, that's just one example of what has been a growing issue. And so a lot of people feeling a little bit of relief that revenge porn has now become a federal crime. And so that news coming out of the Trump White House today. In other news, Verizon ends their diversity, equity, and inclusion policies to get the FCC's blessing for its $20 billion Frontier deal. You can't make this stuff up. Verizon has become the latest big company to end policies around diversity, equity, and inclusion in order to keep the U.S. government happy. It seems to have worked because guess what? On Friday, the Federal Communications Commission approved Verizon's $20 billion deal to buy broadband provider Frontier Communications. The FCC said that the deal will allow Verizon to upgrade the technology providing internet access to 25 states, including rural communities, and to deploy fiber optic access to at least 1 million homes per year. The FCC also didn't miss the opportunity to tout the changes that this deal will make to Verizon's internal policies. In its announcement approving the deal, the FCC specifically cited Verizon's commitment to ending DEI-related policies. And so, has this become the new price of doing business in Washington? Perhaps. In other news, authorities analyzing the nihilistic writings of suspect in the California fertility clinic bombing. Did you all see this just this past weekend in Palm Springs? Investigators today were combing through the writing of a 25-year-old man who's believed responsible for an explosion that ripped through a Southern California fertility clinic over the weekend. The FBI identified Guy Edwards Barkis as the suspect in an apparent car bomb detonation on Saturday that damaged the American Reproductive Center's building in Palm Springs. Barkis died in the explosion, and none of the facility's embryos were damaged. Authorities called the attack terrorism and said that Barkis left behind nihilistic writings that indicated views against procreation. And so, thank goodness this wasn't as awful as it could have been, but it is a reminder that when you see something, say something. I'm sure more details will be released as this investigation continues, but we're certainly thinking of our leaders, learners, and listeners in Palm Springs and other places where people are just going into a facility for services. When we come forward, I'm really looking forward to welcoming our guest, Eva McKinn, national political correspondent at CNN. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint. KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this.
Let's get it on! On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Travis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Travis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Hit the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
We love you. Love you.
Find what you love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Febreze.
As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
La, 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 la.
Hit me.
National News The Consequence. Informed opinion. And
analysis beyond the headlines.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to welcome Eva McKinn to the show. You all might recognize Eva from her work on CNN, where she serves as a national politics correspondent. She's been on the campaign trail covering Vice President Harris's run for president, and you've seen her getting out into the field across the country, following some of the biggest trending political headlines. Welcome to the show, Eva.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. We're delighted to have you. There's so many national headlines that are swirling, including a lot of talk around Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis. Of course, it was released just yesterday. Spokesperson for President Biden, former president, released confirmation that he indeed does have prostate cancer. And while we are all pulling for the former president and wishing him the best, the politics of this is sort of slicing different ways. For some people, it's a little bit complicated due to his exit from the run for president. What are you hearing at the moment related to Biden's cancer diagnosis?
It's extraordinarily complicated and sad. You know, we were with Congressional Black Caucus members recently, and they were among the most, they were among the most forceful when he was still in the contest to defend him, to really create a barrier of protection around him. And to this day, many of those members stand by that decision because they felt as though ultimately it was just too risky to switch candidates in the final hour. But now that this is all being litigated and some of his vulnerabilities are coming into the spotlight, I think we're seeing a blame game from those in his inner circle, but also a doubling down from many Democrats. Congresswoman Lauren Underwood just today on CNN saying that she was proud to support Joe Biden for the entire time that she did.
You think that's going to hold? You think that position? You think that position is going to hold for Democrats as the drip continues? And we know that the book Original Sin by your colleague Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson over at Axios. We know that with that book's release, there are going to be more insights in terms of all the things that led up to former President Biden, taking himself out of the race for president. That, in addition to some of the tapes that have been released of the president doing a deposition with the Department of Justice. I mean, drip everywhere. Are positions like that of Representative Lauren Underwood and early supporters of the president, are they going to hold?
I think it's ultimately up to the voters. We are living in such a difficult time at present. So many voters have economic anxieties, persistent economic anxieties, as a result of the actions of this administration, the tariffs impacting small businesses throughout the nation. So I don't know if the drip regarding the former president is going to be salient, is going to have the impact that certainly the former president's critics wanted to have, just because of the sheer volume of all of the things that confront Americans at present from this administration.
So switching gears a little bit from the Biden administration and now the Trump-Vance administration, we know that Vance is Catholic, and he met with Pope Leo and delivered an invitation to visit the White House at a meeting between the VP and the Pope at the Vatican today. The VP presented the first U.S. pontiff, a Chicago native with Chicago Bears jersey. And he also presented with an invitation to come to the White House. Talk to us about some of the politics that are afoot between the Trump-Vance White House and the Catholic Church now under the leadership of Pope Leo.
I think the goal of this was a reset of sorts for this administration, because the late Pope Francis, he was very critical of President Trump. He did not hide that he thought it was, I think in his words, shameful to degrade immigrants in the fashion that President Trump did. Pope Francis made immigrants and the poor a central focus of his papacy. And so I think that what we saw from this diplomatic visit really was the Vice President, J.D. Vance, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, trying to basically hit refresh on the relationship, because ultimately the Vatican can serve an important role in terms of diplomacy. We know that this administration is very concerned about ending the war in Ukraine. And the Vatican can serve as a powerful conduit in various peace efforts. And so I don't think that they necessarily want to have a similar relationship that they did with the past pope.
That's for sure. And I didn't know this. J.D. Vance apparently converted to Catholicism in 2019 Marco Rubio was raised Catholic and talk to us a little bit about sort of the pros and cons of that for them, being some of the highest profile Catholics in the U.S. government, but having to implement policies and positions that at least their critics say are at odds with some of the tenets of Catholicism.
Well, I don't think that they are personally conflicted. There doesn't seem to be any indication as such. But certainly there are going to be questions if they are exhibiting a behavior or aligning themselves with policies that mirror their faith. I thought that it was significant that the Pope gifted the vice president what he did, some texts, and you had the former Pope who constantly talked about the parable of the Good Samaritan. And so because they hold this faith, they're part of this faith tradition, it's going to constantly come up. But I don't think that there's no indication from them or anyone who holds the Catholic faith within the Trump administration that they think that they're on the wrong course as it relates to immigration policy or anything else.
Eva, switching gears, USA Today reporting that Trump wants a major investigation into Beyonce, Oprah, and other celeb endorsements of Harris. The president said that he plans to call for this major investigation into these celebrity endorsements that Harris received during the 24 campaign, alleging without evidence that Bruce Springsteen, Oprah Winfrey, U2's Bono, and Beyonce were paid to publicly support the Democratic nominee. Eva, we know that you were also on the campaign trail covering Vice President Harris's run for president. What do you make of these sort of baseless accusations of the Harris campaign paying for endorsements? What's this about?
We have to be careful with this because President Trump has proved to be very skilled at this, throwing something out that he knows is going to be a talker as a mechanism of distracting from so many other things. Right now, this administration is arguably not following the spirit of a Supreme Court order in returning a Maryland resident who was illegally deported to El Salvador. That's really serious. And many observers have said that it could set up a constitutional crisis if this administration is in defiance of the Supreme Court in such a bullish way. And so I think this episode is an effort to distract from so many other things that are happening that we need to be focused on. But listen, we know that President Trump loves celebrities. If he could have Beyonce up at his events, he sure would. He would relish that. That's why in his first term, he embraced Kanye West so much because they want this. Republicans want celebrity surrogates too, and they want the A-listers. They just don't have them. So what they do is they lash out at Democrats for deploying them. But no, there's no truth to this. Any money that was paid from the Harris campaign to celebrity surrogates was typically through production companies to facilitate things like travel and stuff like that, but not direct payment in exchange for an endorsement.
And Trump knows that. He knows how this works, how it's not unusual for campaigns to pay for what's called production services, for the actual production crews and the travel and makeup and wardrobe for folks to show up at campaign events. He knows better.
Absolutely. And he did, we just don't know the names of the celebrities that came to his events, but he had some rappers straggling in there, and I'm sure that they were paid as well to facilitate their accommodations, not for any specific endorsement.
Eva, in our remaining minutes with you, tell us what we should be on the lookout for this week. We know that the reconciliation bill is making its way through Congress. I'm sure there's going to be a big fight on the Senate side, at least around the edges. And we also know the South African president is meeting with President Trump at the White House on Wednesday. What should we be paying attention to this week?
Yes, those are both important stories. And I might add that the South African president is meeting with President Trump on the heels of the South African ambassador being tossed from the country, being told he had to leave just a few short weeks ago. And before he left, actually was moderating an event at the embassy and got to connect with the South African ambassador. So that was sort of an incredible and unprecedented moment. So we'll see how that conversation goes, and if the South African president is respected in the wake of the decision for this administration to deem the only people worthy of asylum as white South Africans. But yes, very important stories this week as well in terms of if President Trump's bill is ultimately able to pass Congress, how much do Democrats put up a fight? Do they want this bill to pass ultimately so that they can use all of the potentially harmful things that happen to Americans in terms of cuts to Medicare and Medicaid? Do they want to run on that, or do they really want to gum up the works from this passing in the first place? All this we'll have to see.
Our thanks to Eva McKinn, national politics correspondent at CNN. Thanks so much for joining us. Please come back again soon.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Good to see you.
Thank you for being here. Good to see you. More on A More Perfect Union when we come forward. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
The audience is listening. Thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Former President Biden is weighing treatment options after being diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer. The news has many questioning how it went undetected for so long. Experts note PSA screenings are typically done before age 70. Biden is 82. Memorial Healthcare Uro-Oncology Chief Dr. Jonathan Silverstein adds Black men face a higher risk for prostate cancer, making early screening critical in our community. A man has been sentenced to 35 years for the 2023 road rage killing of a Black Seattle activist, Elijah Lewis. Patrick Cooney was found guilty of murder and assault after also injuring Lewis's 9-year-old nephew. The judge noted Cooney had a history of threatening Black drivers. And Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson outlined his vision for the city, vowing to revitalize the West and South Sides and boost entrepreneurship. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Burbank on the 5 northbound, delays from Hollywood Way and stretches to the 210 merge. Also slow is the 405 in Culver City northbound, slowing, leaving Venice Boulevard all the way to the 5 merge into Sylmar. Southbound side of the 5 in Burbank loads up at Olive, delays all the way to the 605. And Norwalk, the 605 northbound slows from the 105 as you continue ahead towards the 60.
If you're ready for a new job, let Express Employment Professionals help you. Express is already hiring for summer jobs in a variety of industries. Job seekers never pay a fee at Express. Go to expresspros.com to find your location. That's expresspros.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A jersey worn by Michael Jordan when he played for the Chicago Bulls in the 1992-93 season sold for $2.6 million at an auction over the weekend. The interesting thing about this purchase is that Jordan played only 17 games in the jersey that season. The Dodgers are still in first place in the National League West after getting swept at home by the Angels over the weekend. The sweep by the Angels did knock the Dodgers out of the top spot for Major League Baseball's best record. That honor now belongs to the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers in first place in the American League Central Division are 31-16. The Dodgers begin a 3-game series tonight at home against Arizona. The Angels are in Oakland tonight to start a 3-game series. Former Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Santonio Holmes, MVP of the Super Bowl in 2009, has agreed to become wide receivers coach at HBCU Central State University. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
When the flames subside, who ensures that the stories endure? At KBLA Talk 1580, we're committed to preserving the voices that shape our community. We know people have short memories, and as long as this Black Talk radio station is on the air, we will not let Altadena be forgotten. We are honored to announce that the Altadena Historical Society will officially archive our recent town hall alongside every episode of Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr. This is the show of record, the definitive source for tracking Altadena's roots, resilience, recovery, and reunion. These stories will now live on for students, scholars, researchers, and journalists seeking truth and legacy in the months and years to come. Because history isn't just made, it's honored, it's recorded, and it's passed forward. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent, and the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember,
no warrant, no key, privacy. You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside. Don't say a thing. Yeah, we all got rights.
Hey, we all got rights.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and we're digging even deeper into the headlines. Happy Monday, everybody. This morning, there was a lot happening in the White House press briefing, and every day that there is a White House press briefing, I do my best to try and bring you what I call the people's briefing. And this is really just the nuts and bolts of what you need to know. These White House press briefings can last a half an hour. They can last a little longer than that. And there's a wide range of topics that may come up during the briefing, but I always try to keep all of you in mind, our leaders, learners, and listeners. I try to think about, what actions by the administration may be of most interest to you and to your families, to our community. And so if you missed it earlier, I mentioned that President Trump signed the Take It Down Act into law, which is aimed at protecting victims of digital exploitation and holding internet platforms accountable. The bill requires internet platforms to remove explicit images without consent and allows prosecutors to go after those publishers. And so if you've ever heard of the term revenge porn, people who might have shared an explicit photo with someone in private, and maybe, their relationship goes afoul, and that person, puts them on blast and, puts out their private photos. This bill turned law, would make that a federal crime. And so, maybe people can rest a little bit easier knowing that this has been signed into law, and also that there is some recourse in terms of prosecutors being able to go after publishers if, in fact, people's explicit images are out there on platforms without their consent. Another issue that came up during today's White House briefing is the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill. This is what President Trump has been talking about ad nauseum. One big beautiful bill, as in the tax and immigration bill, as in the reconciliation bill that cleared a hurdle after a late night vote. I'll get to that in a second. But this is what the White House said. They said that it's expected to deliver significant tax cuts, $1,000 tax credit for newborns, a $4,000 deduction for Social Security recipients, $10,000 bonus for ICE agents, and money to construct 701 miles of primary wall along our border. But what about our fellow Americans? What about the folks who rely on Medicaid? You might wonder. Well, I sure wondered about that. They weren't talking too much about that. But the Washington Post is reporting that the House Budget Committee passed this massive tax and immigration package central to President Trump's agenda, again, late night on Sunday. And what have I told y'all? When Congress is passing anything in the late night hours, take out your magnifying glass. Read the fine print. Chances are there's something in there that they don't want us to know about, that they don't want us to lean in on. Count them, four fiscal conservatives, all deficit hawks, aligned with the ultra-conservative House Freedom Caucus. They changed their vote. So remember last week when we reported on this, there were 4 Republicans that were holding out and voting for this so-called big, beautiful bill. Well, they didn't vote for it or against it. They voted present. I mean, it's kind of a way of punking out, if we're being honest. And they changed their vote to present, allowing the legislative package to be recommended favorably to the House in a very close vote, 17-16. But their hesitance to vote for the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act, their hesitance to vote for that out of committee is a reminder that the far right flank of the Republican conference, they remain skeptical of this bill. What do I mean? All Republicans are not on board for this bill. Speaker Mike Johnson told reporters as he left the markup that he would count Sunday's vote as a big win, but acknowledged that there's a lot more work to do. Again, the Washington Post is reporting that the 4 fiscal conservatives, Representatives Chip Roy of Texas, Ralph Norman of South Carolina, Josh Breachin of Oklahoma, and Andrew Clyde of Georgia. They had blocked the bill on Friday in a rebuke of Speaker Johnson and President Trump, who had urged lawmakers to stop talking and get it done. The 4 joined with Democrats on the budget panel to prevent the measure from advancing to the floor, arguing that it would balloon the annual budget deficit. A 5th Republican changed their vote on Friday, allowing it to be reconsidered on Sunday. And so, this is the deal. Major cuts to Medicaid. We're talking somewhere around $800 billion in cuts to a lifeline that a lot of folks in our community rely on. If you know anybody that may be working hard to make ends meet, chances are they may rely on Medicaid. In California, we call it Medi-Cal. 40% of births in this country are folks on Medicaid. People living with HIV rely on their life-saving medications via Medicaid. There are a lot of people that rely on this as a lifeline, and these cuts are going to be severe. I mean, essentially, we're cutting people's health care in order to provide the ultra wealthy, the billionaires, with tax cuts they don't need. That's what's going on. This math ain't difficult. And so there are Republicans that are saying, wait a minute, this is going to blow up the deficit. And they're right. We got to get our fiscal house in order. How many of y'all were paying attention to last week, the United States credit rating? It came down just a little bit. It used to be a AAA rating, no longer, because our plan to get our house in order, Moody's said it ain't good enough. And so, this is what's happening. And so the Take It Down Act, that was worth noting from today's press briefing. The so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, it's worth noting. I keep our eye on that. And then last but not least, of course, everyone's talking about former President Biden's prostate cancer diagnosis revealed over the weekend. The president and Mrs. Trump wished him well yesterday over social media, but still, Biden's cancer diagnosis, it's raised some questions about the quality of care from White House physicians. And so for now, President Trump says, he is very comfortable with the quality of care that he's receiving from White House physicians and from the folks over at Walter Reed Medical Center. But let's see how long that lasts. There are a lot of people who are just piecing it together, and they're thinking, wow, if you're the leader of the free world, you probably have some of the best healthcare in the free world. So a lot of people are wondering, how could a White House doctor, miss whatever was leading up to the nodule that was found that indicated that President Biden had prostate cancer? Important question. And we'll be keeping you in the loop as we get answers to these important questions. But that's your People's Briefing for the day. When we come forward, it's time for the quiet part out loud. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
The doctor's office that accidentally mixed up your files has your social security number. The power company that mistakenly cut your service has your payment info. And the hotel that lost your reservation has your passport number. You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that can expose you to identity thieves. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least liked to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has work source centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The Comedy Connection series featuring KBLA's Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, and the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady. We're going to transform relationship disasters into stand-up material live at Inglewood's Miracle Theater on May 31st at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My clinical team will disclose all of your dating woes, while the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady, has hand-selected supremely talented comedians to roast all of our tragic relationship choices. I dare you to bring your ex's phone number, because Ray, he's going to text it live, and the crowd will be sourcing emojis. Tickets are moving swiftly, so don't hesitate to grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before I diagnose your dating history as a pre-existing condition.
We face tragedy,
but we don't fall into despair.
We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. Before we get to the quiet part out loud, I want to remind you all of an opportunity I want to extend to you. Many of you know this, but in case you didn't, when I'm off air, one of the things that I love doing is teaching at Pepperdine. I'm a professor over at Pepperdine University in the Graduate School of Education and Psychology. And I, like my father and my grandfather, believe in the power of quality education. And in that spirit, we know there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there. There's a lot of do-gooders out there that want to develop the skills to scale and to make a difference in the world. And so I want to invite you to take me up on an offer to apply to Pepperdine. We have some really great graduate programs on the psychology side and the education side. On the psychology side, we have our counseling program. We have our marriage and family therapy program. And on our education side, we have the social entrepreneurship and change program, as well as the organizational leadership doctoral program and the global leadership doctoral program. So it's a 20-month hybrid program, meaning that it's both in the classroom and online. And if you use the code PATH to Purpose, PATH, the number 2 purpose, PATH to Purpose, you'll have your application fee waived. So your $55 application fee waived. And it will also enter you into the highest level of consideration for a $10,000 scholarship. And so folks over at the Pepperdine Graduate School of Education and Psychology, let me extend this offer to you. And so if you're interested or you know somebody that might be interested, pass it along, and we'll keep an eye out for your application. All right, moving along, time for the quiet part out loud. And you should know, when I first read this story, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And so I started looking for other sources featuring the same story. because I could not believe that in the United States of America in 2025, that this story was real. And in fact, it is. The Washington Post reporting that a brain dead pregnant woman's case has spurred questions about medical consent. See, a pregnant woman declared brain dead just months ago is being kept on life support in Georgia until her baby can be delivered, a decision that doctors made to obey the state's strict abortion ban. That's what her family's saying. The case raises questions about medical consent since the reversal of Roe v. Wade, how to balance the legal status of the fetus and its mother, and the limits of medical care. Adriana Smith, a 30-year-old Atlanta nurse, was about 9 weeks pregnant, 9 weeks, when she was declared brain dead in February, according to her family. Doctors told them that maintaining life support was the only legal option because Georgia outlaws abortion after cardiac activity can be detected in a fetus at around 6 weeks of pregnancy. The state law also defines a fetus as a person with legal rights. The hospital made plans to keep Smith alive until her fetus is at least 32 weeks old. That's what Smith's mother told the Atlanta station 11 Live, who was the first to report the story, by the way. For months, her mom has visited her daughter in the hospital, bringing her young son. And her mom has said that the experience has been torture. And I'm sure so many of us can believe that. She believes the decision should be left to the family, but it's not. Medical experts who spoke to the Washington Post said that they know of no cases, none, in which maintaining life support for a fetus whose mother was declared brain dead so early in pregnancy has led to a healthy, successful delivery. The reported cases have largely occurred late in the second trimester and early during the third. And at its core, the debate over Smith's care reflects uncertainty about who can decide whether to continue a pregnancy when the mother cannot. You see, before the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, that right would have fallen to the mother's next of kin or another legally designated person. But post-Roe, state abortion restrictions have introduced complications. And so this is where we're at, America. That there is a 30-year-old woman in Georgia who was about 9 weeks pregnant when she was declared brain dead in February. And doctors told her family, not the other way around. Not her family's telling the doctor. The doctors told the family that maintaining life support was the only legal option because the state of Georgia outlaws abortion after cardiac activity can be detected in a fetus at around 6 weeks of pregnancy. So today it's Georgia. Tomorrow it could be a state near you. It could be the state that you live in. So when we talk about the courts and how important the courts are, how important it is to participate in every election, how the power to appoint judges, how that makes a material difference in our lives, the quality of our lives, our civil rights, our civil liberties, Those make such a big difference. And when we elect people that don't believe that that's your body, that's your decision. When you elect people that see, in this case, a woman's body as an incubator. When you elect people who don't recognize and affirm the personhood of the mother, this is what happens. This is what happens. I could hardly believe it. But I thought it very important to share with you today, because I think knowing what's happening is the first step to actually doing something, to governing ourselves accordingly, to holding other people accountable, especially people who are asking for our vote. I certainly hope that Adriana Smith and her family get the justice that they deserve. But yeah, this is a real story. Look it up. When we come forward, we're going to switch gears. We're going to be talking to the author of a new book that you may want to get your hands on as we transition into the summer months. And we're looking to have some summertime fun with some summertime reading, plus some entertainment headlines, some of which may not be all that entertaining. I'll explain when we come forward. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Chris Brown may not have been alone in the alleged 2023 bottle attack at a London nightclub. A second suspect, rapper Hoodie Baby, has been charged with grievous bodily harm with intent and is set to appear in Manchester's Magistrates Court. Brown, who faces the same charge, appeared in court Friday and will remain in custody until his next hearing on June 13th. Pastor Jamal Bryan is leading a Target boycott after the company ended its DEI programs. He's planning a protest on May 25th, the anniversary of George Floyd's death, with over 60 churches joining nationwide. Bryan says Target